The module has a framework that is derived from the work of the sociologist Charles Tilly, and the idea is to show students his grand theory, use that as a general framework, and then have them research their local peculiarities and local specifications of the grand theory. The course has a focus on Europe. I'm completely aware of the objections that can be made against that. I think it's inevitable in this case. And it consists of part instruction and part self-study. Can I get the next slide, please? Tilly's phases are patrimonialism, as he calls it. It's a feudal phase in which administration consists of a myriad of private, one-to-one personal relations. And in that world, a public sphere slowly materializes. Next phase is brokerage. Strong powers are coming into being, but they still need to bargain over their power sources. Tilly also uses three routes towards the model nation state, as they do not structure the course but are present everywhere in the course. I haven't put them on the sheets. These provide a framework for trying to understand and trying to analyze the differences between countries nowadays. Can I get the next slide? Okay, the course consists of an introduction of 3 sessions per phase, one on grand theory, one on the history of administrative ideas, and one on local peculiarities, which means that the course, can I get the next one? Yeah. Consists of part instruction, that is first session, the grand theory session, part student presentations on the local peculiarities of their own countries. How do these fit in to this theory, or do they fit into this theory at all? And a part discussions, and that's the part that deals with administrative ideas, the development of administrative ideas. It's a session that consists of having students read text and then discuss the contents of the course. A choice of assessments can be used according to what session you are in. Experiences with this kind of teaching have been that the idea of using a grand theory and then have students apply it to their own home country's experiences is a good one, because it's what students tend to do anyhow. It's what they're looking for. It's how they react to the grand theory. An experience is that there are huge differences between students, and it's not that much that language is the problem, because I find that the level of English is fairly high, and that we have most of us have strange accents anyhow. The big difference is the difference between teaching systems. There's a huge difference between students who are accustomed to interactive teaching and students who are accustomed to quite directive, top-down instruction by a professor who is the authority, who has all the answers. And that's could draw a map of Europe and point exactly where the borders are. And that's one of the reasons that I've looked for a mix between types of instructions that differ per session. It's a fantastic thing to do. That's my last remark. It's wonderful to teach this kind of course to a truly international group of students. Okay, can I have my last slide, please? What we propose to do is, Mark and I, we would like to have a small group to meet in Leiden in the fall to discuss the course outline we have made, and to discuss implementing the decisions we take in Leiden in the fall. And coming to Leiden, is a commitment, I'd say. If you come to Leiden, the idea is that you truly implement the courses and the joint modules we're talking about at home, that we start experimenting next year.
Comments, questions? Yes? I have a question. I mean, I do appreciate your attempts to tackle the problem that there are different systems of instruction, and I think I mean, you pointed to an important problem. I appreciate the way they did it, but I think I mean, my experience is the greatest problem really comes when it comes to the student assessments.
Yeah.
Especially if you have written papers that you need to grade. How do you actually tackle that problem?
I think one of the solutions could be, I know the problem, and what I did in the past was I had them all write papers, and I tried to bear in mind that writing a paper in English is more difficult for someone from the Latin countries than for someone from Ireland, for instance. What we could also do is offer a choice of assessments. What kind of assessment do you want to take? Do you want to write a paper? Do you want to do an exam? Do you want to do the exam orally? That could be the solution. So leave the differences as they are during the assessment. Yes?
I know it's almost an offense if I put this in front of a historian, this approach, because obviously we work with the ground theory, but the notion of the nuts and bolts information stuck to my mind. All you will need to have some basic kind of background information. And a very logical moment in the whole series, let's for a moment think that these are somewhat interconnected, and at least when they're on the web they can be linked easily to one another. It would be perhaps an idea of some kind of specialization, and particularly in the context, invest something in the context of an history course to build up some of the basic descriptive background information that we need on various systems so that it can be used by others. I mean, that reduces you don't have to resolve every problem within the module, because I've already heard several things which are a little bit parallel. So that is something I would like to bring to the attention of the group to discuss it, and I agree completely that with all the experience that we've had in the past international teaching, that having access to, you don't need to talk about it, but particularly on the web it's easy, you can click it, if you have text that you've got some background information on different systems or different countries or what have you, and then putting that into the historical perspective, development perspective, I think is an easy way to do that, not to instruct it, but to make it available and to put some background. So perhaps that is something that could be discussed in the afternoon, whether there's some guideline or some kind of direction for it. That's simply a suggestion, observation.
Yes, thank you. Yes, please.
All the presentations have stressed comparisons and comparative learning, but I wasn't clear where the methodology of lesson learning and, say, case studies on policy transfer, which I think are quite important in this context, where they fit in.
In the module I have presented, I think the learning cycle element is a crucial element. And the purpose of comparative public management studies is to know whether one can learn from someone else. What is that someone else? It could be between countries, it could be between policy fields, it could be between levels of government, and all of that is different. So I think the exercise which I'm always doing in my experience in my classes is for students to take their home country and then another country, and one of the OECD countries, but two different countries, and try to have them apply things to their own country and see what the conditions are for implementation, what would be the strengths and weaknesses and the implementation problems to do, if it's desirable in the first place, and then to see what would be the trajectory for implementation. So that's one of the reflections I always try to encourage and have them in writing, I also try to have them make comparative papers, like comparing two countries, their home country and another country, to say what is different and what is similar, what is converging, what is diverging between the two countries, and then implicitly have them take a position, or explicitly sometimes, of a normative position. This is what is needed in my country or in my policy field or in my level of government for that reason, and this is what is not needed So from that point of view, this is what I try to include.